Hello and welcome to a drive-by code session. I have a friend, his name is Waikit, and Waikit likes to tinker with code and learn new things by the way of trial and error. I'm going to replay one of his code sessions and explain what he did. So Waikit is going to learn how to use the Canvas API to draw graphics on a web page. He likes to use TypeScript. And TypeScript's tagline is JavaScript that scales. So if you're not familiar with TypeScript, but you are familiar with JavaScript, then you should be able to follow along just fine. He is also going to use this Yeoman Generator called TS Web, which you will see right now. Okay, so the first thing he does is I use the Yeoman Generator, which you invoke using the yo command like so. So it generates a bunch of files. Of most importance are the index.html file, which gives you a template like this that you can change, and the index.ts file, which again, this is a template text that you can change this code in here, replace it with what you want to write. There's a package.json file which specifies the npm dependencies, the development dependencies that are needed to build this project, to deliver it to the browser. The most notable dependencies are TypeScript and Webpack. In addition, there is a TypeScript configuration file and a Webpack configuration file, but I won't go into those in detail. Okay, so once you have these files in a folder, you can npm install. That will bring down all the dependencies needed, and then you can do npm start, and that should start a running web application, which you can access at this URL, localhost:8080. Okay, so the first thing that Waikit does is create a canvas element here. He creates this element dynamically using document.createElement. Alternatively, he could have just made a canvas tag in the HTML page. So you could do that and give it an ID so that the canvas, so that the JavaScript can access it. But he chose to create this element dynamically instead. Okay, so the next thing he does is give the canvas a width and a height. Let me get rid of it. Both 500 pixels. And he gives it a black border and appends it to the body of the document. And now we can see this canvas occupying this square here. Once you have the canvas, you have to create a drawing context in order to actually draw on the canvas. So in order to do that, you have to call this getContext method of the canvas element. You would pass a string parameter to it, which most commonly we use the 2D context. There are other context types, but we will focus on 2D. So once he gets the context object, he stores it in a constant called ctx, which means context. It's short for context. And then now he's ready to draw stuff. So the fillRect method will fill a rectangle or draw a rectangle with its inside filled in. Now what are these parameters here? Well, let's look at the coordinate system of the canvas. So this is the coordinate system of the canvas. It starts at the coordinate 0, 0 at the top left corner, and because we have set the width of the canvas to 500, the number increases until 500 at the right edge of this canvas. And because the height is also 500, as the coordinate, as you go from the top of the canvas down to the bottom edge of the canvas, you're increasing the y coordinate from 0 to 500. Okay, so the 100 here is the first 100 is the x coordinate. Second one is the y coordinate. So the 100 represents this point. So 100 and then x and then 100y. The next two parameters, or the next one is the width, and then the next one after that represents the height. So that's saying that this width of the rectangle is 100, and then this height is 100. Easy, right? Okay, so now let me give you a challenge. So I'd like you to figure out what parameters to put in here. So in order to generate a square that occupies this space. So what numbers to put in here? So I'll give you a moment to figure that out. If you would like to pause the video to do that, you may do that now. Okay, so if you did it, congratulations. Now you're able to draw a rectangle using the Canvas API. Well, first thing is we need to figure out what are, whoops, let's go back to here. Okay. First is we need to figure out what is this top left coordinate here, because that is what we need to put here and here. They won't be 100 and 100. Well, you find the x coordinate here. This is the x coordinate. So this is 200, and then the y coordinate is also 200. So the first two numbers should be 200, 200. Then the next number should be the width. The width of this box here. Well, how do you find the width? Well, that's the difference between this x position and this one, which is 400 minus 200. So 400 minus 200, 200. So 200 goes in here. And then height is the length of this segment, which is also 400 minus 200. So another 200. So the answer is 200, 200, 200, and 200. Let's see if that works. Yes, oh, it matches exactly. Okay, nice. All right, let's go back to the coding session and see what Waikit does next here. So next he experiments with filling the rectangle with various colors. So you can use a fill style property. You can set the fill style property on the context object to change the fill color used. I'll change it to different colors. To specify the color, you can also use this hash colors. So if you are a web developer, you'll be at home with this notation. Okay. Alternatively, you can also stroke a rectangle. Stroke a rectangle will simply outline it. And if you want to change the color of the stroke, you can set the stroke style as opposed to the fill style. You're allowed to first stroke it and then fill it, or the other way around if you choose. And now you can see the outline is red and then the inside is orange. Okay, the next thing that Waikit does is he wants to make a grid, a 5x5 grid. So the first thing he does is uses the stroke rect to make this square. And then now he moved the square to the top left of the canvas. He makes a copy of it and moves it 100 pixels to the right here. Whereas the first square was drawn at 0, 0. The second one has been moved to the right to 100, 0. And he repeats this process. And now we have a row of boxes. Now, you might be saying this 5 lines are the same, like the repetition of the same code 5 times, only with a very minor difference, which is the first number here, the x coordinate. So and there are various ways to remove replication in your code, or repetition in your code. So that's what Waikit does. He decides to use a for loop to remove the duplication in this code, and so we want the code to execute exactly or replicate exactly the same behavior as if it executed these 5 separate statements, but we want one single for loop to replicate that. The trick would be to come up with a formula that converts the loop counter I, which goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and not including 5, converts that counter variable to an appropriate x value to be used in this as the first parameter. So what should we put for x here? That's a question for you, the viewer. I'll give you a moment to figure it out. If you need more time, you're welcome to pause the video. Okay, did you do it? So if you figured it out, congratulations. You are an excellent remover of repetitive code. Or if you just want to enjoy the show, well, so when you're trying to generalize a loop like this, what you could do is come up with a table. So so we have an, well, not one, but I. We have an I. Let's see, 1, 2. We're gonna have this loop. If this is written correctly, this should iterate 5 times. The first time I will be 0. The next time it will increase by 1. So it'll be 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we want is to generate for x these values in order to replicate the behavior of the 5 statements. So these values are 0, 100, 200, 300, and 400. So the question is, what is the correct formula to, given an I something, to get the x that will match these numbers? And the answer is I times 100. Yeah, you can see all of these are multiples of 100. So if you got that, congratulations. Right. So yes, so I times 100 will give us the same result. Now, Waikit wants to do the rows of grids. He does the same trick where he just duplicates this for loop twice, and then he changes the y coordinate. This time he moves the y coordinate, whereas the first row was, first row started here. For the second row, he moves that down here. So moves from 1 to 100, which moves it down. And again, he replicates this process. Now he has 3, now he has 4, and then 5. And again, he uses the same trick using a for loop to eliminate this duplication. This time it's the y value that has to get swapped out for a computed variable, which again is the loop counter times 100. Oh, now it doesn't work yet because we have to put in this y variable into this stroke rect call. And now there we have it. We have a grid of rectangles. So that was the tinkering of Waikit in his sort of first lesson in Canvas. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a little bit about how to draw graphics on the web. Thank you for watching.